Later on in the show, I've got an interview with a really successful real estate agent over on the west coast of Florida in Bonita Springs. Her name is Griffith from Downing Fry Realty. She's got some really good insight, and she's going to talk about how even in this corona, even in this market here, she's making money, and she's got buyers that are buying cash and they're buying sight unseen. They're just wiring money. We just got to get out of here. And I'm going to explain to you a lot of what's going on with that. So without further ado, let's do our daily workout here and try to stop all the naysayers. So I've got the latest numbers hot off the press here. I'm going to hit refresh so we all can see it. And you start to get the feeling that we're being lied to. You're starting to feel like, hey guys, we're not getting the real numbers. And my entire dashboard now has just gone crazy on me. Wow, what the heck is going on here? So I'm going to start walking through the numbers, going to do the best I can here as my dashboard is completely screwed, not getting what I want. But hopefully you can hear me, and that's what's most important. So in this dashboard, I don't have my little headshot thing going on. It's not working right. But everyone talked about how the coronavirus was just going crazy. It was going nuts. And that, we were doing, as you can see up here in the top right, these massive amounts of cases and how it escalated. But nobody wanted to talk about the graph on the bottom. Nobody wanted to talk about what was happening. But I talk about it every day here because it's insane what we are going through. Absolutely insane. Down here yesterday, we had 5 people die. That's 5. In the state of 21 million, they've got us running around, or trying to get us to run around with masks covering our face and to ignore everything that's going on, to ignore the actual science, as they say. You got people on Twitter acting like Florida's on a giant wildfire and we're going to fall off and someone's going to saw us off. We're going to fall into the ocean because, oh my God, the COVID is just so bad down there. The COVID is so bad. We're doing 5, 6, 7,000. One point we did almost 10,000 cases in a day. Oh my God, what's going to happen? And then you look at the numbers and you can answer them. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. I keep seeing on Twitter, people keep texting me, oh, you wait in 2 or 3 weeks. You'll see what happens. We're like in going into month 5 now? Stuff started happening during February. And every so often people kept saying, oh, you watch what happens in Florida in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Oh my gosh, Florida's going to be in big trouble in the next 2-3 weeks. Oh, it's going to be really awful in the next 2-3 weeks. Spring breakers are out there just spreading the Rona. But then when you see the actual numbers, and this number here was it's 5 people yesterday, 21 the day before, 23 the day before that. No person is insignificant. No person being lost is something that we should ignore. But statistically speaking, in a state of 21 million people, 3, 4, 5, 20 people dying, I guarantee you more people die in car accidents each day here in South Florida. I guarantee you in the state of Florida, I guarantee you more people in the state of Florida die from all kinds of things. And we're not making that just front page news 24/7. Florida needs to put on masks. It's ridiculous. And I show these numbers all the time, and I talk about them incessantly. I go in here to the testing, and I see no one ever says this. No one ever says that nearly 1.8 million people have been diagnosed or negative in their testing. All they want to do is talk about one stat, and they keep talking about cases. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I challenge you to see any of these people on the mainstream news talking about actual mortality, actual number of people who have died, actual number of people who are in the hospital. They won't talk about that. That's not their agenda. Their agenda is to scare you, and it's working. It's working really well. But for those of you that are looking to make money in real estate and understand that your business depends upon your ability to overcome this fear, I'm telling you, as Warren Buffett has said, and I've put up many a times, the time to buy is when blood is running in the street. The time to be greedy is when other people are fearful. And right now, we're seeing fear porn on an epic scale, absolute epic scale. So let me add to that fear. So the other day, I saw this on the Wall Street Journal. And it says, and it's a precursor, we're flying blind into a credit storm. Widespread deferrals mean banks can't tell who's creditworthy. Now you have to understand what they're saying. It's like, hey, with all this stuff happening all over the country, and we know that the credit bureaus need to catch up because people are going to start getting defaults reported on them, late payments on credit cards, and the bank's like, whoa, we know these numbers aren't correct. We know that Johnny here doesn't have a 680 credit score because more than likely Johnny's been unemployed. Johnny has missed in the last 4 months. He's missed some car payments. He's missed, a mortgage payment. He's missed a bank card statement payment. Johnny's probably about a 590 right now. What do we do? Sidebar, if the government wants to do something to really help people, how about just getting rid of credit bureaus? How about that's one thing that I could probably agree with. Just wipe the credit bureaus and you stand on your merits today. What would happen if people didn't have a computer to check and go, hey, you've only got a 580. Can't help you. Well, I can tell you what's going to happen. It's happening right now. Banks are terrified to lend money. They don't know who's risky, as it says here, who's risky and who's not. And the banks are tightening lending standards and looking for new data. Where the hell are they going to get this new data? Where are they going to find new data on customers who have been impacted from the corona as to whether or not they've paid their bills in the last 4 or 5 months? What data source are they going to find? Facebook? Twitter? Google? Is Google going to, compile transactions and say, hey, listen, we just dug into the database at Florida Power and we can see Fred here hasn't paid his light bill in a couple months. Might want to watch out. Where's this data going to come from? Who in the heck are they talking about in terms of wanting to get this data? And then, right down here it says, banks have pulled back sharply on lending to U.S. consumers during the coronavirus. The reason? They can't tell who is creditworthy anymore. Millions of Americans are out of work and behind on their debts. In many cases, the missed payments aren't reflected in their credit scores, nor are they uniformly recorded on borrowers' credit reports. That means we can't figure out what the hell you've been doing, so we can't give you any more money. Not only can we not give you any more money, we're not sure we can make any arrangements with you to pay off the debt that you have accumulated. We don't know if you're worthy enough to get a forbearance on your mortgage. We don't know if we can report to your new landlord whether or not you're tenant worthy, whether they should rent to you. If the banks don't know if someone is credit worthy, how in the heck are mortgage companies and landlords going to know? Think about that for a second. Right now, we're in a situation where people may not be sure how to rent to people. They may not be sure how to offer and extend credit to people. So they're just pulling back. What do you think happens after that? What do you think is the next step after people not being able to obtain loans or new places to live? I'm going to tell you what the next thing happens. And it's on a lot of people's minds. So today, at a presser that Ron DeSantis had, he was asked by a reporter at the press conference if he was going to extend the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions again, which he's already extended twice to make sure that people weren't in a position where they were going to get foreclosed and they were going to get evicted, and the court system is just way behind. And what did he say? Anyone else want to ask a new question? He punted. He completely ignored the question. What's that mean? It expires tomorrow. On Monday, given the holiday, whenever, maybe Tuesday. I mean, people are going to be pushing to get people out of properties who haven't paid. Banks are going to be trying to do foreclosures. And as we just saw, what happens when those people who are about to be evicted try to rent a new place and the credit bureaus haven't been able to update scores? What do you think is going to happen in that regard? I can't imagine how things are going to be in the next 14 to 21 days. I mean, it's pretty scary. There's a lot of fear. It means it's time to buy because there's a lot of fear in the market. And it's not getting better. Not getting better at all. So I don't know what is going to happen. As I've mentioned many times before, no one has a crystal ball. We are in completely uncharted territory. So the best you can do is plan for the worst, hope for the best. Plan for the worst by making sure you're cutting the best deals on your buy. You know you make your money when you buy property, not when you sell property. So at this point, you're going to have to put together a serious hedge and let people know, I need to offer you this because I don't know what's going to happen. Or I need an out clause that says if your property values drop more than 10 or 15% in the next 30 days, I need to get out of this and get my money back. Something's going to happen. Something has to give. And then who knows what's going to happen with all the people coming down from New York and other states as well. You're going to hear this from Chris later on when we talk. And she's talking about how people are coming from other states to Bonita Springs and they're just buying sight unseen and they're just leaving. Got to get out. Cuomo's decided he's going to give a quarantine on anybody coming into New York from like 12 different states. Who in the hell is he kidding? Quarantine people coming into New York? DeSantis needs to put a wall around Florida and say, hey, if you're from New York, Chicago, California, no, you cannot come here. You cannot bring your disease into the state of Florida. Why don't we just shut the borders of all states at this point and like, hey, listen, you guys all deal with your stuff in your own neighborhood. I mean, this thing that is getting absolutely crazy. This happened just as I was getting ready to go on air, and Los Angeles City Council approves first step in a plan to replace the Los Angeles Police Department with community-based unarmed emergency responders for nonviolent calls for service. Who determines what a nonviolent call is? How do you know what a nonviolent call is? I've known many police who say they've arrived at a nonviolent call that turned violent. There's going to be a mass exodus. I mean, people are going to be just running out of the state of California. I mean, I've seen some of the gifts on here where people are talking about something, but it's craziness right now. It's absolutely crazy what's going on, and none of us knows what's going to happen. So the best we can do is position ourselves to make sure that as this dam breaks and as people continue with this corona stuff, that we absolutely know what to do. We know what the next steps are, and the next steps are positioning yourself as a cash buyer. Position yourself, make sure you've got your ducks in a row, and seize the opportunities that are available to you that are going to be voluminous. I mean, in this one article, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. I gotta share this with you because this is absolutely crazy. This article about the rent moratorium and eviction moratorium and foreclosures ending tomorrow. It says a stat here that just blew me away, and it was, let's see if you guys can see this stat. It's just amazing. So since April, 2,600 evictions have been filed in court counties across the state. Almost 2,700. Now remember, the courts have been pretty much closed for the last 3 or 4 months. So this is the backlog. So there's 2,700 evictions slash foreclosures. No, they're talking specifically evictions. So there's 2,700 evictions in the Florida court system right now, waiting for the gates to open so they can start throwing people out. Think about that. There's 2,700 right now. These people could be evicted next week. That doesn't count all the other ones that are waiting behind it. When I say waiting behind it, because nobody has been able to file for the last 3 months. So what are we going to do when there's 10,000 people or 10,000 families who've got no place to go? Like it says right here, the end of the moratorium also comes as unemployment in Florida remains at record highs, and at least 176,000 people are still waiting for unemployment claims to be verified as of Tuesday. So you got 176,000 people who haven't even got their unemployment money. You've got 2,700 families who are about to be evicted in the pipeline already. You see the math? You don't have to be a genius here to see where, I dare say, the opportunity is. You get 2,700 families who are going to need someplace to live where the banks can't even determine who is creditworthy right now. They don't even know who you should rent to. We're about to see a tsunami, a complete just wave of stuff that nobody in the business has ever seen before. It's completely new. It's going to be carnage. Now I'm going to say this and some people are going to get pissed off at me. As Warren Buffett said, as Rockefeller said, as Rothschild said, the time to buy is when blood is running through the streets. We are in business to make money. I don't know many people who are doing real estate as a nonprofit basis. We are doing it, we are engaged in this business to profit. At this point, sorry, it sounds bad, but you're about to see one of the best opportunities that we could even imagine in the real estate industry. I know people are going to say, oh my God, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make money on foreclosures? How are you going to, make money doing this? You're a bottom feeder. Oh my God, you're taking advantage of people. No. I didn't take advantage of anybody. You didn't take advantage of anybody. Nobody saw what was coming, but that doesn't mean we stop. It doesn't mean we just forget about it and let it go. You're going to help somebody because maybe somebody can't afford the mortgage that they're in. And so they have to sell. Maybe they can't afford a mortgage and they lost their job, and what they need is some cash to help them out. And so they've got some equity, and you say, hey, I'm going to be able to get you some equity where you're going to be able to put $20,000, $30,000 cash in your pocket. Yes, you'll have to move. I'll give you, 90 days to move out, maybe. But I'm going to need to also get a huge discount on this property in order to help you out. I'm starting a huge marketing campaign this week, and I'm going back to something I did probably 11 years ago that worked amazingly well. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I know when this thing hits people's mailbox, it makes them look, it makes them open the mail, and it makes them understand that you have to act, and there's something I can do to help you. I'm here to help you. At the same time, I am here to make some money, of course, but I'm not a social worker. I'm not the one going to a 911 call without a gun and hoping to talk you off a ledge. I'm here to give you something concrete. I'm here to decide how both of us can come to an arrangement where financially it makes sense. And if that financially makes sense to both of us, I don't see why we can't do a deal. Does it make sense to you? So when you see these kind of things happening,
Chris Griffith from Downing Friar,
you understand that exactly what's going on. There's not much we can do about it. There's not much we can do to stem or stave off what's coming, because unless Governor DeSantis does some sort of additional moratorium, this is going to happen. So let's go ahead and talk to Chris over in Bonita Springs and see what kind of things are happening over there. I'm here with Chris Griffith from Downing Fry Realty over in Bonita Springs. Bonita Springs, if you haven't been to it, is just across Alligator Alley from Fort Lauderdale, just due west. Chris has been an agent for a long time. I'll let her tell you what she's been doing. My wife and I spent some time in Bonita Springs as we went over there after a hurricane, tried to find some place to stay, fell in love with the place, and then from the last number of years, I've talked to Chris online, and I just wanted to bring her on to get a different perspective of real estate in a different market other than here in South Florida, especially with everything that's going on with the coronavirus. Chris, happy to have you here. So,
glad to be here.
How long have you been an agent?
I think 21 years now.
21 years.
Turned into one of the little old ladies in the business.
That's funny. What made you, have you always been in Bonita Springs? What made you fall in love and go into business over there?
You know, I had family here. As a child, my mom came to visit retiree uncles and aunts that lived down here, and I think the population at the time was around 1,800 when I got here, and now we are a full city. You know, I think we're in the 65,000 range at this point. So we went from hitchhiking across town, you know, with no stoplights to a major international destination.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I mean, well, that's also typical for a lot of the stuff on the West Coast, from what I understand. Over the Naples, Sarasota, all the way up to Tampa, it's grown leaps and bounds because I guess we've got too overcrowded here on the East Coast, and so people found out, hey, there's actually a West Coast with a beach as well. So let me ask you a question. How has the market been over there pre-COVID in relation to post-COVID?
Well, you know, our big population that we've been dealing with is that boomer population. 8 to 10,000 Americans turn 65 every day. A lot of them are planning their retirement or retiring, or they're worried they're going to get priced out of the market. So they're buying something maybe a year or two in advance because they're just worried about what prices would be like when they did hit retirement age. So it's really been a brisk market. On top of that, as the people have retired, they have filed Florida residency for the tax benefits and sold their home up north, come down here. When they move into their second home that once was a rental, it takes another rental off the market. So now there's a shortage of rentals also. So a lot of people who are thinking of just wintering over, they also get sort of caught in that catch-22 as well. We can't find a rental and we are going to need to buy in a couple years. So they just rip the Band-Aid off and hop into the market. It might be a year or two in advance, but that was what was propelling the market the last couple of years.
Now, is it new construction? Obviously, it's a growing area over there. So was it people who bought land in advance and decided when they retired they were going to build a new home, or is it a lot of just existing homes on the resale market?
Well, this Bonita Springs area, we are the land of gated communities. The city of Bonita Springs was once the tomato capital of the world, and I think it's the golf course capital of the world now. Every major developer came here and threw up a wall and gates, and we are about 85-90% gated and deed restricted. So most of the building is controlled by, a lot of the big boys, Lennar, D.R. Horton, WCI Communities, and many others. So while there are some places where people did build their homes, there's a lot of major development, but we're kind of getting close to being, well, I can't say we're being built out, but closer to the water, of course, is the demand, like with any coastal city. So we are building east of 75, which I don't know what would be west of you, but, we're building out there. So they call it out there, but it's still only, anywhere from 7 to 10 miles to the beach, which isn't really far at all. The city of Bonita Springs is probably, 7 miles by 7 miles. I tell everybody, you can be anywhere you need to be in 20 minutes.
So you're making it work, and what you just described is actually a small market, but it's still bustling with activity. Is that a statement?
Oh, absolutely.
Correct? Wow, okay.
Yes.
So what was selling, the condos / townhomes, or the single family homes, or basically everything?
Just everything. Every market always has a little bubble that isn't selling as robustly as another, and we had some slowdown with our bundled golf communities, and that's where the golf community or the golf membership is mandatory. It usually adds about $6 to $8 grand a year for the fee, and we had Lennar Homes way out there come build a whole golf community, and it just ate the lunch of every other bundle golf community here. Americans are picky and spoiled, and they went out there and bought brand new. So they've kind of rounding the bend on that neighborhood, so the other communities are catching up now. But there's some great deals to be had in bundle golf communities right now, in existing bundle golf communities.
So you had mentioned to me in an email that you were seeing a lot of sales that are happening by cash buyers, and they were actually buying sight unseen. How is that happening? How did you get the word out for people to contact you for that?
Well, I've done this a while, so I have a pretty healthy network, and I've done this for a long time, so I know a lot of agents, I know a lot of buyers. A lot of my business comes as a referral. I run a really large Facebook group specifically for Bonita Springs and Estero, which is another little village north of here. And, people just call. Actually, on my way home from church today, somebody that's been potting around on my website sent me an email and said, hey, go take a look at this home, send me any disclosures and a floor plan. We're ready to make a cash offer. We're closing on our home in Wisconsin July 15th.
Wow.
And, that's this weekend. Last weekend, I had 3 sales sight unseen. Sometimes I've taken a video, and I might have mentioned that app I was using to create a floor plan if I can't find a floor plan. So I show them the floor plan. I make a video. We talk about the home. I go give it the in-person tour and a sniff test. And we write it up. We've got great inspectors that do a fabulous job, including thermal imaging, so that you're getting a good sound property. And even though people can't fly, they are still buying their real estate.
And if you look at, I'll put the link in the description below, Chris's blog, which is Life in Bonita Springs. It's just chocked full of information of anything you'd want to know about Bonita Springs or Estero, that any homeowner could sit there and just spend a day going through, because there's just so much information over the years that she's put on there. And I knew this 10 years ago when she was doing stuff, and so imagine 10 plus 12 years of content just talking about that specific area. And of course it gets seeded in Google and people share the articles, and now she's doing video as well. So that's a way to do it without having to rely on just sending out postcards and here's what's best in a neighborhood. I have to commend you for sticking to it when everybody else, including myself, said, I'm done, I'm going to do some social media stuff. But you just kept.
I was watching you.
Yeah, you just kept putting that content out there, and I'm like, wow, she just keeps putting it out there. So where are they coming from? You mentioned Wisconsin. Where else are the people who are coming to Bonita Springs? Were they
all over the world? I mean, even we're just an international destination, but we do get a lot of people from the Midwest. So Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan. The interstate comes right down this coast, so they fly right on down here. And, year over year, many people show up here. We might get a Barry that comes here, and Barry's friends find out about it. And that's the circumstance right now. I have a home inspection tomorrow, sight unseen buyers who now their friends have been to the area with them, and they have Florida fever. So they're flying in. They aren't brave enough to pull the trigger yet. So they'll look at some property with me, and if they might not find what they're looking for, and they might have to get brave, because it's not going to wait for you to hop on a plane. It's just not. I had one transaction fall out a few days ago and put it back on the market. It got multiple offers again in 24 hours. So, and it's under contract again.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're doing this, like you mentioned, you have a home inspection you've got to get to. How are you showing homes? I mean, are you doing any physical, or is it all virtual at this point?
Well, I do a lot of virtual. I mean, one of the first things that we did is, as soon as this happened, for our own family's personal safety, we've got a variety of our own health issues. So, I was like, I'm taking 30 days off. It's the right thing to do. And I'm fortunate enough that I didn't really have to work. I have my bills under control. I'm fiscally responsible. So I took 30 days off. And then the phone started ringing and they started buying it sight unseen. So one of the things that we do have on our website is, number one, a banner that we provide virtual services, and people are able to make a virtual appointment, whether they are on a Zoom call and we're going through the home. But we find it better for us to go through and take a nice long video and go to all four corners of the room, spin around so they get the whole feel of the floor plan. And then they're able to watch it time and again. Or, we explain to them in YouTube or in the Google. I back everything up to Google so that they can hit the gears and either speed up the video if I'm going too slow or slow it down if I'm going too fast.
Oh, wow. Hey, I mean, every lawyer, every doctor is now into teleappointments, telemedicine, telelegal, whatever. And I guess what you're saying, basically, you've turned into teleshowings and being able to show people properties remotely, which is, I mean, I don't see a lot of realtors on this side of the coast over here in Fort Lauderdale and Boca doing that. And so that's pretty smart. I mean, it just takes it to the next level where I mean, basically doing what other people won't do. So, I mean, every day when I'm live, I talk about how the numbers are so exaggerated here in Palm Beach and Broward, and the media is just driving people crazy. What are you seeing on the ground over there on your side with Bonita Springs, Estero? I don't think that area was hit as hard to begin with, and where is it now?
I'm really not sure because everything's really confusing, and you hear conflicting numbers, and you hear a lot of conflicting information, and you hear a lot of conflicting best practices. So we just do what's best for us. And we restrict our exposure to people, and we practice safe distancing. I just came from church. We go to an outdoor church, which is supposed to be good. And we're all sitting probably 8 or 10 feet apart. So we went there, we picked up bagels and brought them home. And we just spend a little less time in restaurants. We did go to a restaurant last week, and we were told that there was a party in there that all came down with COVID. And fortunately, I'm an early bird, so I'm also an early bird at night. And we were already gone by the time that party showed up, but it really made me think a little bit. So we're like, it's not quite over yet. You just never know. We've got our own health ailments that, we might just take it a little harder than the regular people. So we're kind of just hanging around the house a little bit more than usual.
It was my wife's birthday last week, and I took her out to a French restaurant here in Boca. And everyone working there, they did the right thing. They had the tables were socially distanced. People had masks, but nobody in this restaurant was packed. Nobody had anything on or gloves or anything. So it's weird over here on the east side because it's like people are just in complete open defiance. It's not as age challenged as some of the people on the West Coast may be. And that may be why we're seeing escalating in cases as well. So where do you see the market in 30, 60, 90 days based upon what we know now?
I think, number one, I'm shocked at I was kind of hoping for a slowdown, and part of it just from the standpoint of, the real estate market in Florida is really easy to get into. It's, $300 or $400 in a week in class, and anybody has a license. And so I deal with a lot of agents that aren't experienced, and I know everybody deserves a chance to grow their experience, but some of them don't. So I was kind of hoping it would slow down and wash out some of the market, and we'd get down to the real players again. But that didn't happen. So I see us to continue going. It doesn't seem to scare people. We weren't really affected by the oil spill when everybody was worried about oil coming to our beaches. And I don't even know how long ago that was, 10 years ago, or even the worst of the housing boom. we were like a dam breaking because we were all new product at that point. So, and it wasn't that one person bought a home, it was that one person bought 10 homes. So the dam broke up front, but we were also recovered really quickly. And those bargain hunters came back in 08, 09 and bought a lot of it up. So we were well above the nation, and, we're a little bit of a pocket here of wealth. It's not that there aren't people who live in entry level housing or still are, living paycheck to paycheck here, but there are a lot that aren't. Just looking at a parking lot of cars, sometimes my mind is blown by how many billions of dollars of cars are parked out there. It's only in America.
You'd be surprised over here in Boca. There's like a line that goes through the town or the city, and everything east of basically military or power line, you're going to see the Mercedes, the Rolls Royce, the Lamborghinis, just Bentleys everywhere. And then go a little bit west and it changes completely. And you're going from $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 houses to $7, $8, $10 million houses in a span of about 4 miles. It's incredible. So I know exactly what you're saying. So with CNBC talking about the huge amount of mortgage delinquencies that are happening, with what you're saying over there, it doesn't sound like you're going to get hit by any wave of foreclosures or mass evictions.
I don't know if that's going to happen in Bonita, and there certainly are areas where, it's entry-level housing, or affordable homes. Affordable is relative in any city. Affordable here is still, I wouldn't consider it affordable in many places of the country. And our affordable homes need a lot of work sometimes. It's the cost of doing business here. But, 15, 20 miles away, we have some cities that are where everybody goes with young families because it's even more affordable. And I don't know what their pay structures are or their safety nets. Hey, this is a great time to tune in to Dave Ramsey and figure it all out.
Well, it's like everybody's waiting for not everybody over here between Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach. On July 2nd, the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions is supposed to expire. With everything I'm seeing now, he may have to extend that another month, who knows? And if he does that, I don't know what landlords are going to do. They're going to start probably I can't imagine having to sit on a property and not get any revenue for 4 or 5 months and just expect to take it unless the banks are going to do some sort of forgiveness program. I don't think just tacking it on to the end of the loan is fair. They lost revenue. And if he doesn't suspend it, man, I can't imagine what the market's going to get hit like here. And it sounds good that you're not going to get that over there.
Well, we don't really know. And, I'm always wondering, well, here's another 30 days, what could happen? Here's another 30 days, what can happen? And I talk to people who are in charitable organizations that most especially deal with people who are in a tough spot or needing food, like the local pantries and stuff like that. And I know that they're well stocked, which means they're not depleted. Right. They're not depleted yet. And so, one of the gals that, I'm friendly with was like, will we have a tsunami in July? Is there a wave we don't know about that's coming? We don't know. And that may very well affect people.
It's one of the things, most of the courthouses have even been closed. So we haven't been able to see the level of list pendances or 3-day notices or eviction proceedings. I can't imagine on July 3rd or July 5th, say after the weekend, all of a sudden we're seeing 1,000 cases get dumped into the courthouse. People are going to go nuts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Man,
like I always say to my clients, I don't know. This is my first pandemic.
Yeah. I hate to be laughing about it, but it is. One of the things in my show is like no one has a crystal ball. If anybody tells you that they know what's going to happen in the next 36 days, all they can say is, I think, maybe, it might look like, but nobody has any clue. There's no way you can sit there and go, here's what the properties are going to be. We have no idea.
You couldn't have guessed what was going to happen in 2020. No, if I would have told you this last year, you would have been like, you're crazy. They're going to pen you up.
So you're lucky because you have a very tight market of defined buyers. Over here on the East Coast, like you just said, people who waited and said, let me wait until after the first of the year to put my house on the market, they've got to be just pulling their hair out, because you wanted to get through Christmas and you say, okay, I want to get into the next year after I've paid my taxes and everything. And now I looked at a house, I guess on Wednesday. It was a $375,000 house here in West Boca, and now I'm looking at it and go, I can't really put an offer that you'll accept because I have to build a cushion. I don't know what's going to happen. And the lady was like, what I need to sell, well, then I'm going to have to give an offer like 220, 230. You can hold on to it and wait and see, and I can wait and see. I can come back and change it, but I have to build in a cushion now because I don't know what's going to happen. There's no stability, at least over here on the east side. So it's kind of scary.
Well, I'm in the market for my own home right now. I sold my home actually in the beginning of the whole shutdown. It just by circumstance, I was shocked they closed, because anything can happen when it was their first pandemic too. So, in that closed. So I'm always looking at the market to see what I can pick up to start working on next. And, I'm in the same position you are. Things are going at a premium, and I'm worried about not having a cushion, and I don't want to overpay. So I'm in the wait and see approach for my own homes right now.
And here's something else I thought is a problem is, let's say you were working, everything was fine, you lost your job in February, you haven't been able to get a new job, now you've got to move. What do you tell the new landlord? Hey, I was current until February, but sorry, now I'm in that bucket of people who, one, just starting a new job, so you got no work history. Two, you haven't paid your rent 3 or 4 months. How is that going to work out with people? I mean, there's too many questions that I don't know. You're going to have to find compassionate people who are looking to help good people out of bad situations and take a chance.
Exactly.
I know what else they're going to have to do. Well, Chris, thank you for your time here. It's been wonderful catching up with you. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
Well, all you have to do is Google Chris Griffith, Bonita Springs, and you'll find me. You can find me by my website or on any of the social medias, including YouTube.
And I'll put a link in the description. You guys can all click and get over there. But what was funny is you're talking about a realtor who knows how to market. I don't need a business card. Just put my name in Google.
Yeah.
Just put
well.
And if you have to get, put Chris Griffith, Bonita Springs, but you'll see it just pops up. She's done so much work over the last decade of making sure her content was right and making sure that all her keywords and she's saturated. You'll see it. It's just a ton of stuff to find her, and she does a great job over in Bonita Springs. And Chris, thank you for taking the time out today to spend 30, 40 minutes with me and talk about the real estate market over there.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
So Chris had some amazing ideas and some things that are going on over there in Bonita Springs, and I'm seeing it here too. A lot of cash buyers and going after people who are looking to buy things sight unseen. Our market over here is a little bit different. It seems like a lot of the New Yorkers, the urbanites from up northeast want to get down here. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. And I just love talking to realtors and other people in the business who are doing so well, even during this pandemic times. And I think that we're just at the beginning of an amazing money-making opportunity. So I hope you get out there and seize the day and do whatever you can. Remember, the doctor says an apple a day, the bank says an offer a day. You can't move forward in real estate unless you're putting out offers and you're buying on your terms, not on the seller's terms. Of course, you're going to get people out there who are going to be complaining, but this is the time, people. This is the time to actually make some serious money. People need help. They're going to be able to cash out. You're going to be able to help them go on with their life. You're going to get a piece of property at a substantial discount. It's the time. Blood's running through the streets. So I see we ran way long here. This is probably our longest show ever. Sorry for the technical difficulties earlier, but I'll be back tomorrow. I'll make sure I'll have this stuff all fixed up, and we'll talk about real estate again tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in, and talk to you guys tomorrow.